Today, I'm going into the woods here behind me. I'm in Rhode Island, and I'm going to be looking for mushrooms. Now, this is something that I started getting into about 5 or 6 years ago, and it is really thrilling to be wandering around searching and then finding a mushroom. And I've learned over the years that there are all kinds of mushrooms here in Rhode Island, and they are so intriguing, beautiful. This practice is fascinating. Now, why look for mushrooms? Well, there's the thrill of just looking for mushrooms and finding them because they're interesting, beautiful objects that come from nature, and you look at them, and that's the way you consume them. There is also the aspect of mushroom hunting where people look for mushrooms for consumption, for eating them. And this is where this practice becomes something that has to come with a big, huge warning. Mushrooms that you forage can be so delicious, like incredibly delicious, but there are also mushrooms that can be poisonous, deadly poisonous. So this is something that is not to be taken lightly. This is not something that I look at as a kind of let me start experimenting with things and figure it out as I go. No, I have learned that if I'm going to eat a mushroom, I have to be absolutely certain that it's edible and that it's not one of the poisonous mushrooms or one of the mushrooms that can just make you sick, if not kill you. So the way you do that really is it has to be scientific, and the only way to make sure that a mushroom isn't toxic is by having someone you trust who's a professional tell you that it's edible, or even better, sending a mushroom into a lab and having it tested so that the lab can tell you, yes, this is not a toxic mushroom, you can eat that mushroom. And generally speaking, when a mushroom is growing in a certain area, if similar mushrooms appear in that area again, it's most likely the exact same mushroom. But part of the work that I've done that goes hand in hand with this practice is research. And yes, the internet is a wonderful place, but there's nothing like a book. Anybody and their brother can put stuff up on the internet. But it takes a lot more effort to have a book published. And this is where there's a legitimacy and a validity in getting a book and learning from a book. I love this book. I don't even know if it's in print anymore. It was in here in the house in Rhode Island, in my friend's house. Eve has a bunch of mushroom books, and I have pored over all of them. I just love this one, The New Savory Mushroom. So, most of the mushrooms that I find when I'm shrooming, I cut and then I bring them back to civilization and I just look at them. Sometimes I paint them. Some of the mushrooms we eat, and the mushrooms we eat are the ones that we're 100% certain are edible. So there are mainly two types of mushrooms that I find when I'm mushrooming, and the way that I categorize them is by looking underneath and looking at whether the mushroom has pores, like a spongy pore underside, or gills. I don't eat any gilled mushrooms. There are lots that are edible, but the gilled mushrooms, there are so many that are confusing. There are some that are edible, and then there are others that look similar that are poisonous. So I stay away from gilled mushrooms completely. The mushrooms that I look for that I eat are the ones that we've eaten before. Usually they're in the same places, and they are the category of mushroom that is called Boletus, like a porcini mushroom is a Boletus. So, let me find Boletes, and they have a spongy underside. So these are Boletus, and most Boletus are edible. So let's go into the woods I'm just gonna look for mushrooms, and you're gonna come along for the thrill. I found one already. So when I'm walking, I'm always looking down. And when I find a mushroom, I cut it. I don't pluck it out. I don't pull the stem out of the ground. We cut them so that the rootstock stays in the ground and helps propagate more. Okay, so this is a mushroom that I don't eat, but it's so pretty. It's a purple mushroom and it's a Gild mushroom. I'm gonna put it in the basket because I think I'm going to be painting mushrooms later today. I see one purple one. Oh, and there's a red topped one here, another one. This is another one that I don't eat. Look at that beautiful thing. It's just fun. There are some. Another Gild mushroom, so I would not eat this one. But they're just so beautiful. There's the cap, there's the stem, and here's a little ring, a veil, that this little bit right here was what was once attached to this part when this was more domed and closed. And then as this cap starts to open up, it separates from this and it leaves this little veil behind. They're like little, to me, they're like little works of art. And the amazing thing is that they grow so quickly. I'll come into the woods one day and I'll look for mushrooms, and the very next day I'll come back and there are mushrooms that were not there the day before. So that means they grew within one day. And when I'm looking for mushrooms to eat, it's so much better to find the mushrooms that are freshly sprouted, because the longer they stay out here, the more susceptible they are to being eaten by bugs, and they start to get mealy. So I try to find fresh mushrooms. This is also culturally a practice that's very big in Poland, and my dear friends that I stay with here, Eve and her family, they're Polish, so this is a part of their culture. And Eve's cousin, Monica, I call her Ciocia Monica, Aunt Monica. Monica is kind of a mushroom expert. She's lived in Rhode Island for decades, and she has eaten so many local mushrooms. So Monica is my person to go to as a consultant for whether or not something is edible. We also have a couple of other people that we check with. Nima problemu. Change brzmi wytchnienie. Oh, here's one. So here's a boletus that I actually eat. This is called a slippery jack. And I've just covered my face because there's so many mosquitoes. So this slippery jack, here's a boletus. So this one is pretty badly consumed by mealy bugs, so I wouldn't actually eat this one. But the slippery jack mushroom has kind of a sticky, slippery top, and before we eat this, we would peel off the top. Like it peels off, like the skin gets peeled off. You don't eat this skin on the top. It just comes off in like one piece. And then the stem, we always throw the stems back to help make more new mushrooms. And then this would get chopped up and put in an omelette. But as I said, that one's not so great. Isn't this fun? Okay, white mushrooms are also a mushroom that we avoid because there are so many white mushrooms that are edible, and then there are also many white mushrooms that are poisonous. So as a rule, we here, my friends and I, do not eat any white mushroom. I think this one is called a milky cap because, so it's a Gild mushroom, gills underneath, and I think it's a milky cap. If it is a milky cap, what will happen when I break the top off is this milky substance will come out of the edge. Milk cap. Is it? No, it is not a milk cap. Nothing's happening. Okay. Oh. Okay, I found another Boletus. There's a beautiful Boletus. Some of these Boletus that have a spongy underside, that are yellow, when you touch them, they stain blue. Like they start to turn color. This one's not blue staining. Oh, is it? Yes, it is. It's turning color. So there are so many aspects of these mushrooms that help you identify exactly what they are, and that's where these books come in handy. Not only the color of the cap and the color of the stem, like this stem is yellow but it has bits of red on it, whether or not the underside stains blue when it's touched, like this is clearly staining blue, but also a spore print. So this underside, if placed on paper, will give a print, and the color, the shape, and the size of the spores help determine exactly what the mushroom is. Now, I am looking, as I'm walking, I'm looking down to look for mushrooms, but the beautiful thing about this practice is that I'm also occasionally looking up, because certain mushrooms grow near certain trees. It's the roots of the trees that put out the, I'm not even going to try to be scientific, it puts out the stuff that attracts that type of mushroom to grow there. So for the Boletus grows often near oaks, and the wonderful thing about that fact is that sometimes I look up and I look for an oak, and if I see a big oak, then I'll zone in on that and I'll look below the oak, and sure enough, there are often Boletus, if the conditions are right, where it's cool and it's damp, the Boletus can be found near the oaks. Now this little spot right here is what we, me and Eve and Alexandra, we call the road to Chanterelles. And I always say, the road to Chanterelles is paved with good intentions. And it's because here chanterelles grow, and I see some. So this is where this is kind of reliable. Every year for months, the same type of mushroom grows right in this patch. And we have checked with our expert friends. They are chanterelles. We've eaten them many times. We did not get any kind of tummy ache or anything. So I love coming here and finding these. Here we go. And they have a sweet smell like apricots. Mmm. Slippery Jack. Pretty. One thing that's important when we are looking for mushrooms and we have good mushroom place, you not tell anybody where you find this mushroom. This is Polish tradition. Mushroom places you keep secret. You don't know where I am right now. Okay, I have a really nice basket of mushrooms. I think it's time to head back to civilization, out of the woods. Okay, I had a nice swim, and now what I always do when I come back from the woods is I get a piece of moss from the woods, and this stuff, I just love this moss so much. It's like a carpet, and it's all over the woods, and sometimes I do take my shoes off and I walk on it barefoot. It's heavenly. So what I like to do is take the moss and put it on some kind of tray like this. And put this on the table here. So I like to just create a display for the mushrooms. Yeah, looks really nice. We need some other things over there. Maybe some rocks, some nice rocks. Yeah, let's get some rocks. There. There. So I just take my mushrooms and I put them on the moss to kind of display them.